With the fantasy baseball playoffs just a few weeks away, one hot waiver wire pickup could be the difference between an early exit and a championship run. In today's video, we're going to go over my favorite high upside targets, the top waiver wire ads for both shallow and deep leagues, and a few players that I'm avoiding despite all the recent hype. And you know we always will recap my prior waiver wire picks to see how they did. If you've been with me throughout the season, I appreciate you. And if you're new here, I'm Chris, and welcome to Number 2 Sports. Okay, so first up on the main waiver wire list, the future of the shortstop position in New York is here. The Yankees have demoted Anthony Volpe after Monday's game and called up the first guy on our list, the budding talent, the probably overhyped Yankee prospect, classic, George Lombard Jr. So George has played in 56 games in AAA this year. He's put up a triple stash of 268, 405, 440 with an 845 OPS, banging home 6 home runs and 10 stolen bases. And I know those stats don't really jump off the page at you at all, but they're not bad, they're not great, but he's just earned consensus top 50 ranking due to his excellent plate discipline. His K percentage is manageable, and he walks about as often as he strikes out, which you just love to see from a young hitter. And also the underlying power metrics, he has a 92.7 mile per hour exit velocity with a max exit velocity of 111, just show that potential power if he can work into it, if he can build into it at the major league level. And then he also just has speed, and that's without even touching on his superb defense, which we'll get into a bit later. Long story short though, with an expected WOBA of 356 in the minors, he should have a well enough rounded skill set with more than enough ways to contribute for fantasy. And again, like I just said, his defense should also just keep him locked into a starting position. Like, just check out these two plays here already. Like, Anthony Volpe, who? Oh, and he's already cranked his first home run in his first career game as well. As the Yankee fans do, the hype train will already be in full force, and I hope the kid can find some sort of success this year, as he'll be a 21-year-old feeling the weight of another Yankee shortstop prospect, already being crowned the next best thing before he does anything whatsoever at the major league level. We chase talent, we chase upside. I like George Lombard Jr. as an ad in all 12 league teams. So next up, we have talked about this guy as a potential stash candidate at various times throughout the year. He just never ended up getting the call, even though I thought and lots of others thought there was like a spot open for him at times this year. But finally, the time has come. The MLB's number 29th ranked prospect, Kalen Culpepper, is on his way to the show, and I think you should find a way onto your roster for 12-team leagues. So Mr. Culpepper had a triple stash of 271, 367, 478 with 14 home runs and 17 stolen bases with an 18.7 strikeout rate in 343 plate appearances in AAA this year. The exit velocity is great at 90.6 miles per hour. The hard hit percentage is great at 46.9%, and he makes a ton of contact while walking at a pretty healthy clip of 11.6%. And like we've said in the past with these guys, contact-friendly profiles have a higher likelihood of immediate success in the transition to the majors, like we talked about with Max Clark, over the more traditional guys with more power and swing and miss profiles. I think Culpepper does have the chance to hit the ground running here as a power speed threat with a pathway for everyday at-bats and playing time, and it's just a kid who is oozing with talent. I'm into chasing Culpepper in 12-team leagues just to see if he can hit the ground running and be a staple in our lineups as we approach the end of the fantasy baseball season. Okay, for this next guy, we have talked about him a bunch. He's going to make his season debut today, Saturday. We have the hard-throwing youngin from the Detroit Tigers, Jackson Jobe. So in Jobe's final rehab outing on August 2nd, he allowed 5 hits, 1 earned run, and 2 walks in 4 innings while striking out 5. The arsenal looked good, the arsenal looked electric, and he was able to generate 10 whiffs in his 4 innings of work. With Skubal gone, I think Jobe's spot in the rotation is relatively safe to close out 2026. Detroit's going to want to get him work, get him pitching so he can build upon some stuff heading into the 2027 season. But I would keep in mind, he's probably going to be on a pitch count today, maybe going to be on a pitch count his next outing, but I am very intrigued to see how he pitches, to see if he can take a step forward from the last time that we saw him on the bump. As a former top prospect, if he can just hit the ground running, pitch well, control his arsenal, I think he could be a solid back of the rotation guy for 12-team leagues as we embark over the final few weeks of the fantasy baseball season and into the playoffs. Next up, we have a guy who's been quietly producing for a few weeks now, almost a month now, and someone we probably should have talked about sooner, but better late than never. We got got Chris Pratt from the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, ranked 48th in category leagues over his last 30 days, Pratt has just been piling up some hits, showing some power, and swiping some bags, giving you really a well-rounded fantasy line in most nights. Just 21 years young, coming in as the Brewers' third-ranked prospect this year, Pratt has been very effective for fantasy managers and Brewers so far in 2026. His strikeout rate is solid at 19%, he walks 12% of the time, and his expected stats are somewhat close to his actuals. The BABIP is pretty high though, running at 350, so maybe expect a little regression in the near future, but production is production at this point of the season. I've been pleasantly surprised with how Chris Pratt has performed in his rookie season so far in 2026. Okay, and last up, I'm not even doing a nameplate, I'm keeping it short. I've yapped about him just way too much this year, but maybe it's just destiny, that Jordan Lawler comes back near the end of the fantasy baseball season and we just cash in on that post-hype sleeper ticket that we've been yapping about all season. And I haven't wasted like a combined total 7 minutes of your guys' life this year talking about him. There's power, speed, lots to prove. I don't know, man. My wife's honestly starting to get jealous about how much I'm talking about Jordan Lawler this year. Okay, now let's get on to the section where I just think these guys need to be on more fantasy baseball rosters. They need to be added more in shallow leagues, and if they're still floating around in your 12-team leagues as well. And first up, we got Noah Cameron. Now, Noah Cameron has actually begun calling his own pitches 3 turns in the rotation ago, so 3 starting starts ago. Holy shit, lay off the caffeine. And the result has been one of the best 3-start stretches for any pitcher all season. Like, I'm not even exaggerating that. 23 innings pitched in just 3 games is bonkers. He's throwing 93, 94 miles per hour lately with more whiffs, and he's electing to go with 80% off speed, and fastball is just out of the zone. It's kind of that surprise pitch like we've talked about with a few guys this year, which has just fueled his success and kind of fueled his success in his premier moments last season as well, which you like to see. He's just kind of going back to where he had success. Clearly, you want to use him next week. He's got a 2-start week, even with one being against the Dodgers. I think you'll just want him on your team after that, and I'd be sad to see one of my opponents pick him up when I could have the chance to grab him right now. And then this next guy just seems to not go away. He's always just being there, a little pesky, and that's Caleb Durbin off the Boston Red Sox. Now, his season-long stats kind of cloud what he's been doing lately. His OPS is currently 730, but 1 month ago, it was 670, and 2 months ago, it was just 553. So it's just been an insane turnaround the last couple of months here for Durbin. He's ranked 14th in his last 30. Under 50% roster rate just isn't okay in my opinion, even if all his underlying power metrics are still lacking. At this point of the season, the underlying metrics really don't hold as much weight if the production is there, because really the player only needs a few more weeks or a month of that to hold for him to be really useful on our championship runs. I'm hoping Durbin can keep up this trend of positive production if the Boston Red Sox just surge into the fantasy baseball playoffs and in the real baseball playoffs this September. Okay, now let's get on the deep league ad section for you guys in those deeper leagues. We got a few deep league bangers to quickly go over here. And first up, we have Moises Ballesteros, now off the Los Angeles Angels. Now, he definitely got a trade deadline bump here, as Moises wasn't even the headliner of that deal. Most outlets actually reported it was the Angels reliever Ryan Zefirjan going to the Cubs. But Ballesteros got off to a roaring start this year. He batted .338 with a 1.012 OPS through April 30th, but then he stumbled badly enough that they actually sent him back down to AAA, while he also kind of limped along there as well. But still, he's a young kid. He's shown great contact skills, plate discipline, and solid exit velocities for a 22-year-old. He's always kind of an awkward fit with Chicago. They didn't really need any more catching talent, or at least not a catcher that was like a work in progress like he is. And the Angels, they have nothing to play for, so I think they're going to give him an opportunity to back catch or at least back catch every day there. And if for deep leagues or in 2-catcher leagues with a backstop that's having a 46.6% hard hit rate and 90 mile per hour exit velocity, he could definitely provide some juice to close the year out. And we'll keep going with Angel Hina. Now, before the promotion, he stashed a stellar 300, 401, 474 with a 133 WRC plus with AAA Columbus. Now, Ramirez does look like he's going to miss like no time whatsoever, so I'm going to be really curious about the playing time here, but I still think he could be an interesting ad based on his minor league work and the hot start to his short MLB career so far. But I really just can't justify picking him up in anything besides the deepest of leagues right now due to the playing time concerns in the immediate future. I need to see how they're going to fit him into the lineup, how much he's going to play on a regular basis before I can recommend him for any sort of league that's shallow or like 12 and under. Okay, and we'll keep going with Cody Bradford, returning from an internal brace procedure, having last pitched all the way back on September 25th, 2024. He started this week or last week against the Giants, and he pitched well, honestly, showcasing that elite 7.1 feet of extension and that 17 inches of vert that he does have on that four-seamer. He is just an elite strike thrower. He's set to square off against two lineups that have recently lost a little bit of firepower at the trade deadline, the Angels and A's. Just be aware of their home parks. And I don't mind Bradford as a streamer this week, someone to keep your eye on this week for deeper leagues, just to see how he's going to continue to fare as he works himself back after an insanely lengthy absence. All right, now I just quickly want to talk about a few players that I am going to ignore in my leagues and who maybe you should ignore as well. Save that fab, save that waiver priority, or don't drop that guy that you're unsure of at the end of your bench for either of these players. And first up, it's going to be Hector Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez doesn't come to the majors with nearly as much hype as the other prospect promotions that we talked about in this video, but the Reds called him up Monday after a short AAA career that saw him hit 34 home runs in 157 games across two stints in the past two seasons. His stint in 2026 was a lot better than the first one, though, as he had 274, 347, 533 while hitting 27 bombs and just a 20.4% strikeout rate. Rodriguez does grade out to have above average raw power and does pull the ball in there a lot, something we love to see, and he's become a lot more consistent with that part of his game this year. But there definitely could be some contact issues, and he chases a lot and can really struggle at times with off-speed offerings. Now, I know some of that probably sounded pretty good, but the main huge issue here, in my opinion, is just where the heck is he going to play? How is he going to get anything close to that everyday at-bats here in the Cincinnati organization? The Reds are still cycling through Marte, JJ Bleday, and Dane Myers, and I just don't trust them at all to give Rodriguez enough playing time to find a groove and just be worthwhile for 12-team leagues down the stretch. I could be wrong, though. Maybe they just go out and play him every day, something they really haven't done with those guys this year. But I personally just need something of more certainty, have a little bit more confidence of the player getting at bats as we head closer and closer to the fantasy baseball playoffs, and potentially could be limited on roster moves or space. I'm going to pass on Rodriguez for 12-team leagues until we see what the playing time situation is going to be going forward. Okay, and the next guy that I'm going to pass on is going to be Andrew Monasterio. So now he has been on a tear over the last month or so, gaining more traction in the fantasy baseball community. He's went 24 for 68 with 2 home runs and 1 stolen base over that time frame. And Monasterio is just kind of locked down that starting shortstop position for the surging Boston Red Sox. Well, Trevor Story does recover from that sports hernia. I think that could be coming to an end fairly soon, though. I know Story's going to get an update this weekend, and then the plan of attack for his rehab, how many rehab games he's going to need, will come to light fairly soon here. And I just don't know how much trust I put into a 29-year-old who's seemingly come out of nowhere, always just been in like a super utility role for the Milwaukee Brewers, with an expected WOBA of 313, a BABIP north of 320, and just blatantly underwhelming power metrics. If you've had Monasterio over the last month, that's great. What a great stream. But if you haven't and are consider adding him now, I just think that ship has sailed and I'd look elsewhere. It's recap time. Did I f*** over your team this week? Stay tuned to find out. All right, recap time. We're going to recap my prior waiver wire video from August 31st. And first up, banger, Max Clark. He does just look like a future stud in the making. Should have had no doubts about the kid. Somebody who can just rock those chains like he did, just knows how to hit baseballs. And then we had Clay Holmes. So he did get traded like we're hoping for. Chicago is a really nice landing spot, an exceptionally good defense behind him for his pitch to contact tendencies. He should have a lot of W potential to close the year out. And then we had Brandon Garcia. There's only been one save opportunity actually since I posted that video, and he did get it. It's kind of like the life of chasing saves with sporadic teams that aren't just going to go out and dominate each night. I still like his opportunity. We just haven't gotten any more confirmation or any more information if he is the lead dog for saves up there in the desert. And then we have Pedro Ramirez. Now, he was strictly a stash, hoping that he'd get traded. He didn't get traded, so you can completely ignore him. It is somebody to remember the name for going into drafts next year in 2027 if there is no lockout. And then for the add more, we had Royce Lewis. He just keeps hitting, and his roster rate should just keep climbing. Under 50% is criminally low. And then we have Walber Urena. Now, 3 great starts in a row now against 2 really good teams. How is he still under 50%? Like, the potential with this kid is crazy, and he's definitely somebody that I'm going to keep my eye on as another player heading into drafts next year. Then we had Canzone and Hernandez. Both were somewhat gross from the production standpoint. Unfortunately, Canzone does still look like he's going to hold down an everyday spot in that role, so I still do like the upside. And Hernandez just hasn't got the on-field juice, the on-field power that we need. I still like the potential, but we just need production at this point of the season. So we'll go Clark good, Holmes good, even though he actually hasn't pitched. Garcia is still good, even though we haven't got more information confirming that he is going to be the lead dog there. Ramirez didn't get traded, so it doesn't really count though. It's a strict trade only thing. Lewis great, Urena great, and then Canzone and Hernandez, the production was kind of gross, but I still like what they're getting for their opportunity. So I don't know, man. I honestly don't think that deserves a punishment, but we haven't had one for so freaking long, so f*** it. We're going to go with a punishment, baby.
Kid's back, you know? Against the shins. Oh!
But all right, guys, that's another waiver wire video in the books. You know, fantasy baseball season is coming to a close here. And again, if you followed with me last year, followed with me this year, follow with me through basketball. You know, we got basketball season coming up here shortly. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. I always try to respond to every single comment, every video. That's the best part about making these videos, you know, just shooting the shit with you guys. I appreciate you guys liking it, hyping it. You know, sub if you haven't subbed already. Let's keep pushing up those sub numbers. And again, as always, have a good rest of your day, night, week, weekend, wherever you are. And I'll see you guys real soon.